Hi and welcome to this video tutorial. In this video, you're going to be learning how to use Laravel and also Pusher and GraphQL to learn how to build a full-stack real-time application where a user can be able to chat another separate user, unlike the way it is on Instagram. So this is just the demo of the application. We have 3 users registered in our database. So if we quickly check in our database, you can see when we click on users, you can see the respective users that are registered. And right now, we don't have messages sent to each other. So this kind of mimics the example of Instagram, whereby if you have not yet clicked on a single user, you get this dummy template presented to you. So right now, I'm going to click on user 2. And I'm going to open another browser called Firefox. And inside this Firefox, I'm going to open the same link. But right now, I'm logged in with user 2. You can see we don't yet have user 1 clicked. And I'm going to click on user 1 as well. So right now you can see we have our user 1 clicked and we get to see our message inbox text where we can actually text a user from the inbox. So I'm going to text hi user 1 from here. So I'm going to send a message to user 1 and immediately I send that message to user 1. User 1 is going to receive that message instantly without even refreshing the page. And I'm going to text back, hello, user 2, and I'm going to send it. So right now you can see with the help of Pusher, which is a Pusher WebSocket, we are able to emit a message from user 1 to user 2 and as well from user 2 with user 1 using their respective email addresses. So likewise also we did for user 1 and user 2. We can also try it out on user 3 to see if we are going to have a repetition of the messages displayed on the inbox chat. But let's just try it on user 3 and see how it is. I'm going to click on user 3 now, and user 2 and user 3 is going to have a conversation. I will say, hi, user 3, and I will send it. Now, when I go to user 1 and click on user 3, the message I sent to user 3 from user 2 is not going to be displayed on user 1, which is showing us that these are separated privately and we don't have a message interference. With the help of GraphQL, Laravel and also Pusher, we are able to build this full stack web chat application where users can be able to chat one another without interference. But before you begin watching this video, I would like you to hit that like button and also the subscribe button and share this video so that YouTube can also show this video to a whole number of people who are willing to learn how to build a full stack web application. Thank you and let's dive in. So these are the necessary things for us to use in this tutorial. So we have the Get Composer. You have to go over to their website and make sure you get one for your operating system. So I already have that. And also you have to make sure you add it to the environment variables. Then we are going to be using the Laravel, and at last we are going to also add the Lighthouse. Then other components which are necessary we are going to install when we are done with the installation. Right now we are going to start off with the installation. I'm going to open my Commander. So if you have been following my video tutorials, you always know that I do use Commander a lot more than Git Bash. So we are just going to click on Get Started on Windows because I'm using a Windows operating system and I already have most of these things done. You can still go ahead and do it on your Mac OS, your tabs, or anyone. Just make sure you have Laravel installed and also make sure you have Composer installed. And I think when you install Composer, it's going to add it to the environment variables automatically. So I'm going to create a new Laravel project. So what I'm going to do is to scroll a little bit down. I just want to be seeing that. So I'm going to type down Composer create project. I'm going to call it Laravel/Laravel. I'm going to make this a little bit big so that we can see it clearly. Then I'm going to put in the name of the app. So I'm going to call it Instagram. Sorry for that wrong pronunciation. So Laravel Instagram. So this is kind of very nice. And I'm going to allow this to finish the installation. So right now we have it installed. And we have it created. We have a new Laravel a new Laravel project created. I'm going to switch into that Laravel Instagram. So guys, do not forget to hit that like button because it's very, very necessary so that YouTube can show this video to a lot of people that are willing to learn these kind of things. And so I'm going to open this on my Visual Studio Code and this is one of my best IDE, and also I do use Atom, and sometimes I do use Sublime. So guys, one more thing you have to install is the XAMPP, which is going to help your operating system to recognize these PHP files and run the website for us. So just go ahead and download one for your operating system as well. And back in our project, I'm going to open that Visual Studio Code, and you can see our freshly project which we just opened from our commander. And there are some other things we have to do, so sorry for that. I think I have to mute that notification. So right away we are going to be installing the Laravel UI, which is going to help us to run our React.js script on our Laravel application together with the Laravel backend. Let's say I just run a PHP artisan at SAF. So if I run this, we can still run our application, and we can always visit that with this URL on our browser. So if I just go ahead and paste this and hit enter, it's going to show us the application. And mind you, I have my SAM started. I think I forgot to mention that as well. So I have it started. This is the second desktop, but if I open my SAM by any chance, you should definitely see it started. So right here you could see that. Okay, let me just go ahead and start it. I think I didn't start it, so just go ahead and start that. Yes, definitely I didn't start it. So this is running because I have PHP on my environment variables, which is very necessary. If you know how to do that, you can go ahead and do it. And I'm going to come back here and terminate this. So guys, there are some other things we have to do, because we are not going to be using this IP address for every single URL. We are going to have a specific URL which we're going to be using for our application. But just go ahead and follow along. I'm going to first of all install the Laravel UI. So with the help of Composer, I can require that from the dependency manager. So I can just go ahead and run this, and it's going to install the Laravel UI, which is now going to help us to install the Laravel UI React. And we are going to install the Laravel UI React because it's React.js we're going to be using. And immediately you see the Laravel React scaffolding is added successfully and installed. And I'm going to just run npm install, which is going to install all the dependency that is needful for our application to run effectively. So we have that installed, and the next thing is to make sure that we don't use this URL. This URL is really actually nice, but we don't want to use it, and it's going to help us in such a way that even if we don't have to run PHP artisan itself, we can still visit our URL with something like instagram.test. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to click on it. And right here you could see we are getting an error. I already have one connected, which I'm going to reconnect to our new project folder. So just go ahead and search for Notepad and run that as an administrator. So I'm going to open that, and I'm going to open some directory paths, which is on the local C drive. I'm going to go over to Windows, and I think it's on System 32. If you're on Windows, just click on System 32 drivers. So search for drivers and etc. And right here, select all files. I think it's even smaller. I think I can make this a little bit bigger. And then click on host and select that. It's gonna open this host file. So here you can see I do have some other URL I was using to test the application while working on it. We are going to stick to only one, which is instagram.txt. Of course, you can add as many URL you want to add, in as much as it is on your local host, which is your default machine. It's going to always use that. So I'm going to say something like, we can say test, anything you want to do. I just want to show you an example. I'm going to click on save and close that. The next thing I can do is to open my commander and just go a little bit back on the SAM folder, and you can just start that. It's going to open this folder for us. So what you can do is to go over to the Apache com folder and extra, I think. Then you can go over to the httpd vhost file and scroll a little bit down. you can see where I have this connected to my project directory in the htdocs folder. So you can just go ahead and copy one of these and paste that. I think I have to get rid of this one, I don't need it. And what you can as well do is to go over to your project folder. So we can just switch over to that. Sorry for that delay. Oh, sorry guys, I have to switch over to the htdocs first, then switch over to this. So what I usually do is to type down the pwd command, and it's going to show me the directory path, and I just have to quickly come here. I can replace all these with that directory path, and then I can just add public, because it's going to be using the public PHP index file in our folder path in order to render this perfectly for us. Then I can change this URL to the URL of my local host, which is instagram.test. So that warrants me to also get rid of this one. So right now we have that settled, and if you want that to be active, we already have everything done. If you want that to be active, what you simply have to do is to restart your Apache, and that should be it. So whenever I type down instagram.test, hopefully we should be able to get that PHP file rendered for us, which is coming from our index.php file from the server. So this is coming from the public index.php file, so right here. So we have that settled, and now we have our custom URL, which is instagram.test. So the next thing we are going to do now is to make sure we are using our React.js. Of course, we are not going to be using normal PHP files for this. I'm going to come over to my commander. We already have every other thing installed, but first of all, we can go over to our resources folder here. And inside this resources folder, I'm going to create a new file called app.blade.php. So guys, I know I'm a little bit slow. It's because it's been long I did a video, but hopefully you guys should catch along as well. And right away we can go over to our free repository. So just go ahead and copy everything inside this directory path from the free repository, and it's gonna save you a lot of time. So you can just paste that, and right here you could see we have a compiler, then we have the selector or the query selector element over there. So we're gonna make sure we have React.js installed and every other thing installed, every other dependency that we need installed. So one dependency we need, because we're gonna need that for a request, it's Axios. So I'm just going to quickly install Axios. And I don't want that to waste our time. By typing it down, we can just simply go over to the free GitHub repository and click on this Laravel Instagram chats. And down here, you can see some couple of dependencies that are very needful. So I'm gonna grab these dependencies, and straight away I'm just gonna put that on my own. So just go ahead and do that as well. And you can see I already have my own put down. So we have the Apollo client. So sorry guys, it's been long I did a video, so my pronunciation may not be straightforward, but please bear with me. Then we have the box icons, we have the GraphQL. Then we have the random avatar generator, which is going to help us to have something like profile pictures generated automatically for us. I think React avatar is also good, but I didn't use it. Maybe one of these I used, but I can't recall. But we are going to know as we progress. Then we have the state management of Redux. Then we have the React router, and we have the scrollable feed. This is not necessary because it didn't work out, so I figured out a way to do it. And then we have the React strap, which is very, very nice. Let's say customized bootstrap templates. Then we have the Redux state management. Then Redux stands for Redux middlewares, I mean. So that's it for now. And I'm going to, first of all, compile our UI. But before we do that, we are gonna install everything here. So I'm just going to type down npm install and allow every other dependency to be installed for us, both dev dependencies and our normal dependencies. And right away, let's compile our React script. Then we can go ahead and make use of our React components, which we're going to be creating shortly. So I'm going to run npm run watch, and I'm going to pull poll. and this will actually compile every other script for us, or every other React scripts, into this app.js at hopefully at the public file. No, yes, inside our resources folder. Yeah, inside our resources folder, which is going to compile everything here in order to render it for us. And I think we got an error. So the way I usually do this is to copy this dependency and terminate every other thing. So I'm gonna zoom this back a little so I can copy this properly, and I'm gonna terminate that because I know it's gonna result in an error. First of all, install this. I don't know what the meaning or what it does, but whenever I run it and then run npm watch again, everything goes fine. Then I'm gonna run npm run watch. I usually use the npm run watch poll, so I can't recall the exact definition of this, but what I know is that it watches my file and makes sure everything it's compiled perfectly. And then if you want to use something like browser sync, is cool, but I'm not going to use browser sync in this tutorial because I pass a lot of stress from that, so I don't want to pass another stress from that. So we just allow this to compile. Then we are going to be making use of our React.js components. So while that is being compiled, I'm going to go over to our routes. And right here, you can see we are actually using the welcome template, which is on the view. And I'm not going to be using this welcome template. I can simply just go ahead and delete that. And we are going to change this to app. So if we go back to our browser and hopefully this time around refresh, I think something should show up, but not for React. So it says welcome not found, and I think I have to save this and refresh. So right here you could see something is been happening here, but we are not getting any response, and we're gonna fix that immediately. And fixing that is very simple. We just simply have to go over to the, so right here you can see the compiler is pointing at the app.js script or app.js file, which is going to bring us into the example components. And I think I have to change this to this ID. So we have to change this example container or example selector to app, and that should hopefully solve it this time around. And hopefully we should get one or two things printed out. It says target container is not a DOM. So we have ID, and right here we do have, I think, a class. We do have an ID here. Okay, also change this to app, and we can refresh. So right here you can see we are now using our React.js components in our Laravel application. So guys, if you've really come this far, please do make sure you hit that like button. This tutorial might be boring, but I promise you it's gonna be the most exciting tutorial as we proceed, because you're gonna learn a whole bunch new lot of stuffs. And please do make sure you hit that like button and also the subscribe button, and let's see on our next video. So right away, one thing we have not yet added is the CSS. I quickly added that on mine. You can just go ahead and create these couple of files, or just go over to the boilerplate or the free templates. You can just grab these CSS files and get every code inside and put it. So this main.scss has to do with the CSS for the design application. So that's just the other the CSS that is different. But for this one, we got this one from React from Boostwatch, not React actually, from Boostwatch. And then we have to import those CSS files inside our app.scss. So if you are familiar with Node.js, this is exactly how Node.js files does look like. So that's exactly what we used in this tutorial. So I don't want to stress over that. You can just go ahead and grab it. And the next thing we have to do is to come over to our JS folder, and I'm going to create a new component here called app.js. I'm also going to create some other files as well. I'm going to create a folder as well, and I'm going to create a folder here called auth. I'm also going to create another folder called inbox. So this auth or the authentication folder has to have all the components that is going to handle our authentication. So this one is inbox. So this inbox have to do with chats. I don't know what I'm doing. I have folder, so I'm gonna call this inbox. Okay, it's created perfectly now. So we're gonna be creating some couple of files inside there, and one more file I have to create in this component folder is called the loading file. So this is going to help us to actually display one or two things before our GraphQL loads information from the server. So we have added a lot of things here, but one thing we've not yet done is to install the GraphQL. That's going to be the next thing we are going to be doing in this tutorial. So guys, please do make sure you hit that like button as well, and also the subscribe button, and see you on the next video. To install GraphQL, we just simply head over to their website, lighthousephp.com. And first of all, I'm going to run this command, and I'm going to open my commander and terminate this application. And then I'll paste that and run that command, and we allow that to grab all the GraphQL dependencies that we know. And that is done. The next thing we have to do is to publish this default schema. The default schema comes with the user schema. It kind of gives you a little bit of idea of how GraphQL does look like. So I'm just going to copy that as well and paste it on my commander. So I'm just going to paste that and hit enter. And the next thing I'm going to do as well is to add the IDE supports. I'm going to quickly do that. And the last thing is to make sure you have the GraphQL dev tools installed, because this is going to help us to actually interact with our application without the client side, giving us a control over our data from the back end so that we can know how to render this data on the client. I'm just going to quickly paste that as well. So let's just allow this to finish up. And that is done. And the next thing we have to do is to go over to the course. I'm going to click on config, and we can click on course. And right here, I'm going to add a URL called GraphQL. So this kind of helps us to consume our API from external client applications wherever, and it's going to make a request to our application, which is the backend or the Laravel application, and whatever we send over there from the GraphQL is whatever the client side is going to receive. So right now we are done, and I'm going to restart our application immediately. And hit enter, and let's just allow that to complete. And we have that started. I'm going to open another tab. I'm going to type down Instagram test, and I'm going to select the GraphQL playground. And if everything worked perfectly, we should actually see the playground show us perfectly, and that's okay. And right here you could see everything is working fine. We don't have an issue. And if we click on our folder project and click on GraphQL on the schema, you could see the default schema which we got published, and you can see we have the user schema. If you're familiar with MongoDB, this is not going to be hard for you to understand. So that's just similar to MongoDB, but GraphQL have to do with mutations. With the help of mutations, you perform these operations before sending them to a client, which kind of really helps your application to be simplified. I think GraphQL is one of the coolest things I've used this year, so I really love that. And in this section, we are going to be dealing with the Redux state management. We are going to connect our Redux to our React.js application. I'm going to quickly click on JS, and I'm going to click on app.js. And right here, we are using an example component, which I'm going to change to app. I do love to use app rather than example components. I'm going to get rid of this default component that comes with our fresh application, and I'm going to stick to this app. I do have something I installed. So whenever I type ROFC, it's kind of gives me a free boilerplate I can just use. So one thing I forgot to do was I shouldn't have deleted that. I could have just renamed that. We don't have much issue. I just have to go grab this from the boilerplate or from the default template provided on the description, and just paste that, and that solves our problem. And right here I can still say this is app. Let's just quickly refresh to see the effect of what we just did. If everything goes fine, we should get this is up at least. Let me do a hard refresh over there. And I think it's because we've not yet imported the React DOM. Let me just quickly import that at the top here. So we can say import React DOM from React DOM. And that should solve it. Whenever we refresh, we should get that. So sorry for this little delay, guys. And you could see this is up. I'm going to quickly connect our Redux state to our application using the React.js provider. But before I do that, what I usually like doing is to start off with the store. And in the JS folder, I'm going to create a folder called store. And inside that store, we are going to have two folders called actions and one more folder called reducers. And inside this store, we are going to have a store.js file. And I think there's a full code for you from the boilerplate in the description. And just go ahead and grab that and paste it. So what it simply does here is to create the store. And then we use the middleware, which is the Redux dunk. And then we created the store. The only thing I'm going to create here is the root reducer. We already have the layer type or the structure type of our initial state. Then blah 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 with every other things over there. So that's it. I'm going to create a file called root reducer. I don't even need to create a real reducer. I just have to create an index.js file over here. And inside there, I'm going to create two files. The first one is the chart reducer.js. I think I have to rename this to reducer, not reducers. And the second one is the user reducer.js. I think this is one of the more conventional way of naming files when it comes to reducer. You have to just make it straight and simple. And inside here, there are some other imports we are going to make. So let me just do that quickly. And from Redux, we are going to import the combine reducers. Kind of helps us to combine all our reducers. Then I can bring in our reducers over here. So I'm going to import the chart reducer from. We have the chart reducer. And also we have to import the we have the user reducer from user reducer. Then I just simply have to export it as a default combine reducers, and then inside there we pass the objects. We name our chart reducer to charts, and also we name our user reducer to user reducer, and that's it for that. And inside here we do have our initial state, which is going to be an object. We just simply have to export default, and it's going to be a class of an object. Inside this argument, we have the initial state, and then we have the payload and also the type. Let me just close this, and inside here we are going to return before I return anything, I have to use the switch statement, which is going to take in the type. And then we do have some cases, but the default is going to be to return the state. Where am I doing a mistake? Returning a state, and that has to be a default. Yeah, I forgot to add that. I'm just going to copy this and also come over to the chart reducer and just paste that. So that solves it, and that kind of gives us that we don't have any error for our store. So I'm trying to be fast as well. So whenever I click here, it brings us to this combine reducers, which is already joining two reducers. I'm going to close that, and also I'm going to close the chart reducer and the user reducer. I'm going to come over to our actions. I'm going to create one file called types, and this is going to be the types of action we're going to be using. This tutorial is kind of very interesting because I'm going to be using GraphQL and Redux at the same time to actually make the logic very complicated and also very exciting. And I'm not gonna waste my time typing all this down. I'm just gonna paste that from our boilerplate or from our free templates. This one is store user info. So we're gonna store user info. Whenever a user is done registering or login, we have to store that user to our state. Then we have the user clicked. This one is actually used whenever we click on a user to chat with a user. We then have to style that particular user or style that particular element that the user is currently in. We also have to reset a user. Whenever we click another user, we have to reset a new user, reset the old user for a new user, and then clear click as well to clear any click. Then we have the store other users. It grabs other users in our database and stores that in our own state. Then we have load chat messages. This is going to load all the messages we have. Then we also have to store each chat message. Like when we text a user, we have to store that to our store. Then we have store chat messages. Whenever we load chat messages, we have to store that to the store. And also we have clear chat messages. Clear chat messages actually takes place whenever we clear or click a fresh user. We have to clear all the messages in a store because we have to reuse that store for another user's chat. Likewise, reset message loading. Whenever a user, whenever we are done clicking a user, it's gonna load all the messages of that user and it's gonna stop loading. We have a spinning loading we are gonna add. It's gonna stop that. So these are just simply the tags of all the types over here. And the next thing we are gonna do now is to make sure we connect the Redux to our application or the Redux store to application. I'm gonna close all this. I'm going to open the app component and close this and also close the course. I want to make everything very simple and clear. I'm going to just clear everything here and paste what we got from our free template or from our free boilerplate. So what this simply means is that we imported the box icons for our CSS styling or whatever. Then we have the browser router, which is going to help us to route through our application dynamically. Then we have the Redux provider coming from the React Redux. Then we have some other components. I don't think this is very convenient now. I'm just going to comment it out. We're going to use this later on as we progress. Then for connecting to our GraphQL, you could recall when we added the GraphQL link to our course so that we can consume from the request of a client, we can consume what is in our backend because of that course. So that's exactly what you see here. We got the Apollo client connected and we have to use in-memory cache to actually cache that data in our current client application. And then we have this coming from store. So if I click on it, you could see it's coming exactly from store. And we have to use all these higher order components like the provider, which we are going to pass the store, also Apollo provider, which we are going to pass the client. So the client has to do with the connection. And then we have the router. So the router is definitely coming from here for dynamic routes. Then we have other routes. For now, I'm going to, I don't think there's in fact, there's no route right now. I'm just going to create a component called login shortly. So every other thing remains the way it is. I'm just going to uncomment one of these. And we can just simply go quickly into the auth folder and create a file called login.js. So RFCE, and the recommendation should come out, so that I just hit enter. I can just say this is login and just clear that. So, and that's it. And right now let me just go ahead and refresh. I think everything should just show us this is login, because the first link there, we are not getting any response. I have to quickly check on the console, and it's saying we don't have a register. Something is not defined. Something is not defined. Okay guys, I know why. So we just have to uncomment this and refresh again. This time around it should work. So right now you can see we have the login screen, and also we have two things connected, the Redux store and also the GraphQL. So guys, if you have really come this far, please do make sure you hit that like button and also that subscribe button.